Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're cracking open some really insightful words from Jack Ma, the founder of Alibaba. We've been looking at excerpts from one of his talks, trying to get to what he sees as the real engine of success. And honestly, it's probably not what first comes to mind.
That's right. We've pulled out the key nuggets from these sources. And our mission, really, is to show you how Ma thinks success is actually built. He doesn't really talk about luck or, magic formulas.
No, not at all. He argues it's something much quieter, much more foundational, I guess. It's about your daily habits, those small, often invisible choices, the inner work you do long before anyone else even notices.
It's a perspective that definitely challenges the common stories about getting ahead. So, yeah, buckle up, because he's going to make you look at success, failure, even money in a really different way.
Okay, let's dive right into that core idea then. Jack Ma's fundamental point seems to be that success isn't some sudden, magical event. It doesn't just pop up out of thin air.
Exactly. He's super clear on this.
Right.
It comes from the daily habits you cultivate and the silent decisions you make, the ones that get zero applause, the ones nobody even sees.
And that really pushes back against what we often think, doesn't it? We're kind of conditioned to look for the big moments, the overnight success story, that dramatic promotion.
Yeah, and what stands out right away is his analogy of the sculptor. Think about creating a masterpiece. It's not one single massive hit with the chisel that does it.
Right.
It's thousands, maybe tens of thousands of patient, consistent strikes. Each one seems tiny on its own, but together, well, they reveal the final form.
Patient and, like you said, invisible at first. He really stresses the invisibility of these habits. The world doesn't see you getting up early or staying late or, making that extra effort. There's no outside praise initially. You kind of have to be your own cheerleader then.
And he lived it. He talked about starting Alibaba in that tiny apartment with just his friends. Outside that room, nobody believed they could possibly take on the global giants. But their focus wasn't on convincing everyone else. It was just on doing the necessary work, day in, day out, no matter the doubt. That steady, unseen effort was the real foundation.
So, okay, it's clear success is built on habits, but let's really get into why he thinks those small, consistent actions pack such a punch.
Well, he frames it quite nicely.
Yeah.
Think about planting seeds. Spending a little more time studying, having that tough chat with your team, tweaking a small part of the process, each action, taken alone, it seems minor, maybe even insignificant. But their power is cumulative. They add up.
Which brings us to that famous question he asks, if not now, when? If not me, who? It's about ditching the idea of waiting for the perfect moment or for someone else to give you permission. Waiting for the right time. Well, it often just means you never actually start. Action, even one tiny step, that's the key.
And these invisible habits, when you combine them with the internal stuff like setting goals and really trying to think positively, they become the unseen structure, the hidden framework of his success. It wasn't some grand blueprint from day one. It was built bit by bit, day after day.
He has another great analogy for this, the single drop of water. Falling over and over in the exact same spot. At first, it's just a drop, seems totally useless, barely makes a mark.
Right.
But give it enough time, that relentless, small, consistent action, it can actually wear away the hardest rock. And that's how he sees these daily habits working. They feel small, but that cumulative force holds the power for real transformation.
And this leads to a really important question. If these small, consistent actions are so powerful, why do so many of us, get stuck? Why do people quit?
He's really spot on about this. People give up when progress isn't immediately obvious or it just feels too slow. We're sort of wired for quick results, aren't we? Instant gratification. We often don't respect the sheer time and persistence needed for real growth to take root before it actually shows on the outside.
He calls this the greatest trap. You think you're stuck, that you're not moving forward, just because you don't see instant change. He actually mentions seeing colleagues give up right before a potential breakthrough, simply because they needed that external proof that hadn't surfaced yet.
And his counter to that is so crucial. Consistency beats intensity. Every time. It's not those intense, sporadic bursts of effort that build something lasting. It's the steady, patient work on yourself, on improving, on fostering that growth mindset. Those are the people, he argues, who eventually become unstoppable.
Yeah, he uses this great image of secretly stacking bricks inside yourself. While maybe others are off chasing quick wins somewhere else, you're quietly, consistently building something internal. Your resilience, your knowledge, your discipline. And then years later, you suddenly realize, wow, I've built a fortress inside me.
And in those early days, when the results are invisible, he says you just have to learn to trust the unseen. Trust that silent buildup. Like a plant, the most important growth is happening underground where you can't see it. That's your mental toughness, your self-discipline, your whole mindset taking root. He even has that joke.
Oh, yeah.
If you want to catch the rabbit, don't change the rabbit, change yourself. It's all about your own evolution, focusing on getting better every day through learning, focus, self-awareness, not just trying to manipulate everything outside you.
Okay, let's talk about something many people try to avoid.
Yeah.
Failure. This is where his perspective gets really, really interesting. It kind of shakes things up.
Absolutely. He doesn't see failure as the enemy, not at all. He sees it more like the blacksmith that shapes you, or like a gym for your spirit. You don't get strong lifting feathers, right? You build strength by tackling the heavy weights, and failure is definitely one of the heavy ones.
And he's got the stories to back it up. Failing his university entrance exams multiple times, getting rejected by Harvard 10 times.
Yeah.
10 times. And being the only person out of 24 applicants not hired by KFC when they first opened in his city.
Wow. I mean, can you imagine that kind of rejection over and over?
Incredible, right. But he looked at every single no as a lesson. He says they taught him patience, they built his inner strength, they forced him into personal development. He reframed every failure not as some kind of dead end, but as a powerful chance for transformation, something that actually sharpens you, like steel.
He really pushes back against the shame that often comes with failure in our culture. He argues that behind pretty much every successful person, there's this long, unseen trail of defeats. These setbacks aren't just obstacles. They're the raw materials that build your self-awareness, your willpower, your focus, just layer by layer.
Yeah, his view is crystal clear. Success isn't about avoiding mistakes. It's defined by growing because of them. When you stop being afraid of failure and start seeing it as just a necessary part of the process, that's when you unlock some serious inner power.
Okay, this leads nicely into another common belief he tackles head-on. The whole idea of, if only I had the money, then I could really make things happen.
Right, that belief that money is the starting block, the magic key that unlocks every opportunity.
And he teaches the complete opposite. He argues that money follows vision and preparation. It doesn't actually create them. He's seen people with tons of resources fail, while others, starting with basically nothing, build huge things. The difference. He believes true wealth is rooted much deeper in self-discipline, personal development, and that mental resilience we talked about.
Think about Alibaba's start again. They didn't get funding first. They began with a dream, sure, but also clear goals and just an incredible will to do the work. Money, he kind of suggests, is like a magnet. It's attracted by preparation. If your inner world, your mindset, your discipline isn't ready, well, even winning the lottery won't bring lasting success.
Their focus was on competing with their mindset and their inner mastery, not just trying to outspend everyone. Their daily grind was poured into productivity, self-improvement, practicing gratitude, really serving their customers, empowering their team, just creating value. He seems to believe if you consistently plant the right seeds, eventually you'll get a harvest.
Yeah, he uses this analogy of watering weeds. If you're only focused on chasing money, without cultivating your inner landscape, your mind, you're essentially just watering weeds. You're focusing on the wrong kind of growth. The real game, he says, is invisible. It's that inner game of building self-belief and visualizing your future, even when there's zero external evidence yet.
And the powerful takeaway he offers here, chasing money is like chasing your own shadow. It'll always stay just ahead of you. But if you focus on building yourself, your discipline, resilience, vision, you become more like a lighthouse, and money, like ships drawn to that light, starts coming towards you. The real fortune, he insists, is who you become along the way.
Wow, that really is a powerful shift in perspective. So much of this is about the internal work, the stuff going on inside. But this brings up a really important question. Who are you actually doing this internal work around?
Exactly. He really hammers this point home. Your environment is just as critical in shaping you as your own internal efforts are. It's not just what you do, but who you're doing it with and where you're doing it.
He has a very vivid analogy for this. Surrounding yourself with negative people, with constant doubters and cynics, it's like trying to plant beautiful flowers in poisoned soil. They just can't grow. They can't thrive there. Your personal growth needs fertile ground.
The wrong company actively saps your self-belief, clouds your focus. He's apparently seen dreams just wither away, seen colleagues give up, simply because they stayed surrounded by people who constantly poured cold water on their ideas. It just suffocates potential.
Yeah, and on the flip side, deliberately choosing to spend time with dreamers, with doers, with believers that silently strengthens your own vision. He actually considers this one of the most strategic moves you can make for your own development journey. An empowerment strategy, really.
He suggests actively seeking out positive mentors, maybe directly or even indirectly through the books you read, the videos you watch, the online communities you join. Success is heavy, he implies. It's too hard to carry all by yourself. Being around the right kind of energy helps you lift more. He even mentions finding inspiration in books like Good to Great or Shoe Dog, which really highlight how crucial building the right team and environment is.
He says dreams need oxygen. Don't let the wrong people just suck the air out of your ambition with all their doubt and fear. Choosing your environment carefully isn't just, a nice to have. It's an act of self-respect and a really strategic decision for your growth. The people around you are either fueling your fire or trying to put it out.
And importantly, this includes protecting your mental energy. He calls it your most precious resource. Wasting it trying to convince skeptics or letting negativity seep in, well, that's like watering weeds again. You have to guard your mental space like a warrior protects a fortress. It's not about being arrogant, it's just about being strategic about where you invest your energy for growth. He really encourages listeners to actively increase exposure to visionaries and builders.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly to another crucial piece, especially now. Learning and adaptability. He talks about what he sees as a kind of new intelligence.
Yes, the critical intelligence today isn't just about raw knowledge, but how fast you can adapt. He realized early on with Alibaba that just sticking to what they knew initially would have been fatal because the internet was changing so incredibly fast.
Success in that kind of environment wasn't about being the absolute smartest person in the room from day one. It was all about continuous learning and, crucially, the ability to unlearn habits or beliefs or strategies that weren't working anymore and then quickly relearn better ones. Flexibility was just absolutely central to their growth and productivity.
He brings back that catch the rabbit by changing yourself idea here too. So many people waste energy trying to force the world to stop changing or wishing things were different before they even think about updating themselves first. But winning today, he argues, demands deep self-awareness, relentless self-improvement, and just endless curiosity.
Clinging to what you think you know feels safe, right, comfortable. But he actually calls it the most dangerous trap. Developing real success habits means being brave enough to admit when you need to change your mindset or pivot your strategy or maybe even evolve parts of your identity to keep that essential growth mindset alive.
His own practice, apparently, was whenever he faced a challenge, he'd immediately ask himself, okay, what do I need to learn next to handle this? He became, as he put it, a forever student, just diving into whatever was necessary: leadership, finance, tech, emotional intelligence. Learning from books, sure, but also finding lessons in movies like The Pursuit of Happiness.
Growth isn't static. It comes from moving, learning, adapting, and then moving again. The future really belongs to people who stay flexible, stay humble enough to admit they don't know everything, and just keep cultivating that curiosity. Letting go of outdated beliefs is what keeps you light, fast, and powerful.
So let's bring this all back to where he started. Jack Ma's whole perspective seems crystal clear. Success or failure isn't some destiny written in the stars for you.
No, it is profoundly written in the small choices you make every single day. He had this realization early that every tiny decision, every little act of discipline, like, getting up a bit earlier, making one extra call, studying just a little longer, was actively shaping where he was headed.
The future isn't just something that passively happens to you. It's something you actively build, day by day, brick by invisible brick, through your self-discipline, your goal setting, your commitment to personal growth. Every quiet moment you invest in improving yourself is literally laying another brick on your path forward.
He constantly comes back to this.
Yeah.
Your fate isn't sealed by one big dramatic moment. It's decided by the accumulation of all those small, silent moments. It's choosing persistence when you feel like quitting, choosing focus over distraction, choosing a growth mindset instead of just seeking comfort. These tiny micro decisions layer up, often completely unnoticed, until suddenly they lead to massive, visible results.
He contrasts his own early days, remember, no money, limited tech, no connections, but massive belief with the incredible tools available to almost anyone today. Smartphones, the internet, endless knowledge at our fingertips. And he kind of throws down the gauntlet. How you use these tools, which is defined by your daily habits, that's what determines how far you can actually go.
Every small habit you choose today is either nudging you closer to or pulling you further away from the life you envision. Things like visualization, practicing gratitude, finding productivity habits,